Good morning. My name is Vicki Phipps. I'm a retired Army captain. My father was in the Army, and I knew that I also wanted to serve as a leader. I was an ROTC in college, and I joined the Army full-time in 2004. After 4 years, I was on track to reach the highest levels of command, and I had exceptional reviews. From the moment in ROTC, when I learned about the duties and responsibilities that a command position requires, earning that position was my goal. In 2008, I took my first command position in Oklahoma, and we later moved the unit to Korea. Throughout my military career, receiving and hearing inappropriate comments were commonplace, and they continued into this position as well. One of my senior ranking officers began brushing against me and touching me inappropriately. I reported this to my commander, and he told me that I had two choices in this situation. He told me, I can remove you for cause and end your career right now, or you can find a way to deal with it. The perpetrator was the officer that was responsible for the entire battalion's training and mission readiness evaluations. After reporting this situation, this officer began to push all of my unit's scheduled evaluation dates further and further into the future. For instance, during a field training exercise, my unit stayed out in the field for an extra 5 days to complete training. This affected me directly by making me miss the training and readiness goals that my commander had set for me. These metrics are used as a bulk of an officer's evaluation review. I'm not sure if the secondary retaliatory effects were intentional, but they affected me much worse than knowing that my own evaluation was in jeopardy. These secondary retaliatory effects were that because my unit missed these training and readiness goals, my soldiers missed out on recognition for their accomplishments. The lack of visual recognition and the recognition of awards and certificates of achievement actually equated to my soldiers missing out on promotion points. This retaliation did not just affect me. It affected over 100 other people, their careers, and their future earnings. While in this same unit, over the course of 1 year, I was assaulted a total of 3 times. And absolutely, I do think that the climate facilitated these crimes. I chose not to report 2 of them because I knew that if I reported, at that point my career was gone. I had also witnessed what had happened to others in this unit who reported sexual assaults. I saw several cases handled badly. Each victim was blamed. Information about cases was not kept confidential, and victims were branded as liars. I took a chance and reported one of the 3 assaults that happened that year. I thought that I would be able to change the attitude towards sexual assault victims by reporting. I thought reporting would stop the perpetrator from continuing to harass me or others. When I reported it to my commander, his response to me was the same as when I reported the senior officer earlier. Deal with it and do your job. Army Criminal Investigations Division, CID, eventually substantiated my case, and the perpetrator confessed to the conduct. That person was golfing buddies with my commander, and he only received a local letter of reprimand. So when he went to the next duty station, his slate was completely clean, not to mention that he didn't even have to register as a sex offender. From that point on, my commander made it clear that he wanted me out of his unit, and he set me up to fail. An example of a retaliatory action that happened in this unit was my change of command ceremony, as I was leaving 2 years of command time with my unit. The entire battalion and some members of the brigade typically attend this event. When my battalion commander gave me a date, I began to plan the event and send out invitations. A day or 2 later, the brigade commander issued a mandatory training event for the entire brigade. I asked if I should change my date, and my commander told me to just get it done. My ceremony was bare bones. Only my own unit attended and a few outside guests. Despite my outstanding evaluation reviews, I did not receive an award at all, which sent a negative signal to the promotion board. I knew that was the beginning of the end of my career. During my last command position, which was my last 2 years in the Army, a whole new set of problems arose. About 6 months into this duty position, I was assaulted for the 4th time in my career. I reported it to my commander, and my commander had the non-commissioned officer issue an apology. I was labeled a troublemaker from that day forward. Later during this command, my first sergeant made an inappropriate sexual remark to me at a training conference. I counseled him and referred him to the battalion commander for action. I could not bear the thought of him saying something like this to one of my soldiers. Both my first sergeant and I were counseled in writing. I was counseled for failure to maintain better control over my first sergeant. My battalion commander broke protocol and asked me to step out of the room so that I could issue my first sergeant, or that he could issue my first sergeant a reprimand. Once I stepped out of the room and closed the door behind me, I heard a roaring laughter from my battalion commander, my battalion command sergeant major, and my first sergeant. I immediately complained about handling of this incident to the Inspector General, who then referred me to the Military Equal Opportunity Office, who then instructed me to address my brigade commander with these issues. I met with my brigade commander, and he spent 30 minutes intimidating me, trying to get me to drop it. From this point, I felt that my entire chain of command was on a mission to undermine my credibility and fire me. I began to receive negative counseling statements for things like not returning a call or an email immediately. I was subject to several non-standard, unannounced inspections that none of my peers received, and I was given extra paperwork to complete that was not required of any of my peers. After my chain of command and the IG both had failed to resolve the ongoing retaliation, I wrote to my senator. My brigade and battalion commanders, who were the subjects of my complaints, led the congressional inquiry. As a result, my chain of command began an investigation that was supposed to be a look into my battalion commander's behavior toward me and the retaliation that I was receiving. During this investigation, my deputy brigade commander interrogated me for over 2 hours, asking me, "Are there any unusual circumstances about your enlistment?" My soldiers and coworkers informed me that they were questioned about my mood. After issuing a command climate survey, my battalion command sergeant major met with my NCOs and said, "Ma'am, tell me everything that she does wrong." After the meeting, one of my NCOs told me, "Ma'am, I don't know what you did, but he's gunning for you." In 2013, my annual military medical exam triggered the initiation of a medical evaluation board, and I became eligible for medical retirement. The retaliation continued. My chain of command threatened to stop the MEB process and look further into my medical records themselves. My commander read through my medical records, including some records about my previous sexual assaults. And in training meetings, he referenced specific issues in my medical records as examples of what medical issues soldiers could have within the battalion, and to ensure that we pay special attention to these soldiers. 2 months before the end of my MEB process, I was told I would be sent to a U.S. Army Reserve unit as an active duty soldier. But I was also able to fight that. However, I was once again penalized, and I was denied a retirement award. Despite how overwhelming these prolonged situations were for me, my multiple years as a commander and a survivor provided a knowledge base for me to anticipate what was coming and from whom, as well as navigate the field of questions, interrogations, and the bout of probing questions and threats that I knew that I should challenge. I can only imagine how difficult this has to be for the young enlisted personnel who don't know what they don't know. Whistleblower retaliation and reprisal has now outlasted my military career, and I wonder when I'll get to move on with my life. On a personal side note, of all the many great leadership lessons that the Army has taught me, the ability to present and brief the bottom line up front is helpful to me in offering you my point of view. The bottom line, as I have learned, becomes more impactful when dollar figures accompany that issue at hand. So, when I look back at my 9 years of service, I considered all the money that the Army invested in me as a resource and an asset to the organization. Between the multiple clearances at different levels, civilian schooling, both undergraduate and graduate, special military training and schooling, ROTC and associated training, temporary duty in various locations, and my salary, the Army invested well over $1 million in me. Due to the conditions that I was subjected to, I was medically retired from the Army. I cannot currently place a dollar amount on what the Department of the Army will spend on paying for my retirement, because that is a lifelong payment. The impact of this issue now also begs the question, how much will the VA system have to contribute to improving my quality of life, because the current systems in the military cannot appropriately address whistleblower retaliation? This seems to be the very definition of fraud, waste, and abuse.